partnering right now with the Metropolitan Police Department of D.C. that's deployed quite a few people up there. So you'll now see people on the exterior, and if there are protesters inside, and I'm not inside.
Hello, this is Dr. John Curry, and welcome to the Embassy of the Kingdom of Heaven on Earth. If you want to follow this podcast, please subscribe to JC Global Embassy TV1, ring the bell, and hit the thumbs up button.
I'm still not
what you're seeing now in front of you, you're seeing a view of the Capitol, where we have these white people, these 75 million, and some of them have already made it to the White House, under the direction of Donald Trump. They're trying to dispute the election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. This is what America has come to. White, racist, Klan members, as well as all others, have ascended upon the Capitol in order to take back the election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. This is where we are. And they're moving under the direction of the ousted president, Donald J. Trump. Now, we're looking like we're moving into a coup that is upon the White House, and that is to take the election back, and that is to reinstall President Donald J. Trump as President of the United States. And again, this is all a big lie, because Donald Trump has psychosocially brainwashed all of these people to believe that the election wasn't fair and that they stole the election from him. So let us watch the video and let us listen in closely so you can be able to see what America has come to. As I said before, so say I now, white America struggle with the impact of governing without the mindset of white supremacy. And this is the result of that. Let us watch.
And so it proves a couple of things. The empty barrel does make the most noise. He's making it dangerous for both the police officers and emergency responders, as well as people who have a legitimate right to come up and be loud and vocal, but not violent. And so it seems strange to me that a group of individuals who profess to be such police fanatics and police this and police that are attacking police officers. Now, I think it's good. Now, when you look at the picture that on the
I really appreciate you saying that.
And if you look at the pictures, Terry, just as you complete that thought, the pictures on the East Front, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're right outside the Senate chamber.
They are.
They're on that second level. They're up the steps and on the balcony right outside the Senate chamber.
Well, it is not unusual for, I see now they're on the East Front, where the Capitol Police officers have stopped them at the first level. They're not past that. Now, I can't see what the middle set of steps is. But it is not unusual for protests. When you're in the chamber, you can hear the protesters, and we can live with that. That is actually a healthy sign of democracy. But to have the protesters get up on the skin on that side of the building, both on the House and the Senate side, is something that would be troubling, and I'm confident that the chief of that police department, along with, I'm talking with people there from the Metropolitan Police Department, have geared up, and it will take complete control.
I would just like to add a brief note.
But it will be
everybody in the world knows if those protesters were black, they would all be gunned down right on the spot.
Some more reporting. Garrett, I know you said you were going to do the best you can. What have you learned?
Well, the Capitol building is completely locked down internally as well. I tried to go through the tunnels to get over there from the Russell Senate office building just across the street to the northeast. Was stopped by Capitol Police, who told me there's no passage in and that they were moving into the Capitol building because there are now protesters inside the Capitol building itself. Wasn't clear how many or exactly where, but they are no longer just on the outer steps. It's possible they got in through one of the other side entrances or maybe through one of the other office buildings. But at this point, Capitol Police are telling me there are protesters inside the Capitol building itself.
I'll be honest, I'm still sort of having chills by the fact that the sitting president of the United States actually encouraged this behavior and encouraged what is happening right now. And right now, a big chunk of the elected officials of the United States federal government are in lockdown due to a whole bunch of protesters essentially storming the Capitol at the behest of the sitting president of the United States, Andrea Mitchell.
Chuck,
you are a foreign affair. You have covered foreign interventions in the past. We saw Belarus. What does this look like to the world?
Well, it looks like some of the parliamentary protests that we've seen overseas, and we're supposed to be the icon of democracy to the world, but it's also that you've got the two
America
people who are
looks like
second
a
and third in
banana
succession,
republic.
the vice president and the speaker of the House.
Because white people, in
which is
particular,
just
these white
Don't forget Chuck Grassley, he's the
racist
next one in line. And Senate President Pro Tem,
Republicans do not know how
the House
to
is
govern.
gaveling back in. That is a good sign that maybe they feel like they have some security. Katie Tur.
The president has just tweeted, I know we're talking about how he's been egging these protesters on. He's continuing to do so. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands truth. That tweet is incorrect. It is lies. The state certified a fair and free election. There was not fraud, as he is alleging. And let's remind everybody once again that the president and his legal team had ample opportunity to present evidence of fraud since the election, and they didn't do it. There was no evidence of fraud.
Right.
They didn't do it. They said as much in the legal filings that there was no fraud because you cannot lie to a judge. But here he is, the president of the United States, egging these supporters on. Remember, he told them to go do this, and then he went right back to the White House, to the safety of the White House. I am wondering once again, Chuck and Andrea, what is Josh Hawley thinking right now? What is Ted Cruz thinking right now? Are they reconsidering what they have decided to do today? Are they reconsidering their actions in light of the safety of themselves and their colleagues and everybody who works in that Capitol building being put at risk because these supporters, these protesters don't believe that the election was fair?
It is just stunning that this incident was instigated by the president of the United States 2 hours ago.
And when you think of how the people who are at risk there, these protesters are congregated in an area where people are not supposed to be, up the steps, surrounding both floors, both House and Senate, which are on the second floor as you go up those steps.
Again, Dr. Curry, welcome to JC Global, Embassy TV1. Ring the bell and hit the thumbs up button. This is all happening is because President Donald J. Trump did not want to count 5 states. Did not want to count those 5 states where the majority of the people that voted in those 5 states were black people. And as a result of that, he's crying like a big baby because he wanted those results to be taken away. We're going back to the 15th Amendment, and that is the right to vote. And this is happening because white America does not want black people to participate in the democracy of this nation. Therefore, they claim that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did not win those 5 states. Now they're trying to breach the election, trying to breach the presidency of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. This is all a big coup and a big lie because they did not want black people to vote, and as a result, they want to take back the election. But that time is up. They have voted. The election has been confirmed, and President Donald J. Trump is throwing a temper tantrum because he lost the election. Is this government? Is this America? Or is this a banana republic trying to pretend to be a democracy?
How extraordinary it is. In Statuary Hall, at the left of your screen, that door there is a position you sometimes see us go live from with that big statue of Will Rogers over our shoulders. That's maybe 20 yards off of the House floor, if that. And there is nothing between these protesters and the floor of the United States House except about 20 yards of marble hallway and one big door. And to put another finer point on it, the last time I remember big protests in the Capitol complex was around the Kavanaugh hearings. those protests were confined to the outer office buildings. Even then, when these buildings were open to the public,
these are the protesters.
We knew there would be big protests happening.
Walking in towards the Senate.
Get into this building unless you're
walking
a guest,
in the Capitol building.
And
again, I say unto you,
so forth.
You and I both know, and the world knows, if they were black, they would all be gunned down by now. These are white protesters
like I've ever seen before.
Coming to support their President, Donald J. Trump, because he's acting like the election was stolen from him.
I see some officers on the bottom left.
They are brainwashed. Every last one of them you see have been brainwashed with lies, psychosocial brainwashing that's got them to do what they did or doing because
the help of the National Guard
of the president.
Around the Capitol complex.
That may be a jurisdictional issue. The mayor of the city of Washington, D.C. controls the guard in the city of Washington, D.C. Capitol Hill, federal property. Usually there's a sort of shared forces kind of agreement on these sorts of things. National Guard is typically used to control streets, intersections, block traffic, that kind of thing. They don't like to get them involved in pure policing actions unless they have to, although it's hard to see how much higher the bar could be for that kind of thing to take place.
And the mayor has just ordered a citywide curfew beginning at 6 p.m., which is a little after sunset. The House is now back in recess. They had gone briefly back into session, and we saw the congressman from Arizona standing up.
I have a feeling I know why, Andrea.
Exactly.
We're watching Statuary Hall just sort of be flooded with I guess coup conspirators. Adam Kinzinger,
they were in session.
By the way, has tweeted flat out, the Republican congressman from Illinois, this is a coup attempt. There's part of me that doesn't want to give that much sort of oxygen to these.
Well, as Garrett was pointing out, they're right off
the Katie, their debate with Joe Biden. Proud Boys stand back and stand by. A couple days ago, the leader of the Proud Boys came to Washington. He was arrested immediately for something having to do with vandalism. He has since been released. I can't tell you the makeup of
so how can this nation be a beacon light of hope for the world to come
you had to have seen
when
this
we have not exterminated these roaches that have come forth
We've been touching on
acting like they're for the whole world
the police didn't
when they have hidden racism in the poison of their heart for their own
nation. He was ordered
nation.
by the judge to leave the city. He was taken out of the city
This
under
is
threat of rearrest.
a coup.
Yeah, it was he who acknowledged,
or shall we say,
one of the
an attempted coup.
Guys, I don't know
in America.
but we have a member of Congress on the phone. It's Congressman Brendan Boyle, who can, I think, give us a little firsthand. Congressman, our producer in the Capitol, Haley Talbot, just said they were told that they needed to go under their desks. What can you tell us from your perspective?
Yeah, hi guys. Obviously, I've never experienced anything like this. I'm literally in my office working on my floor speech for later today when my state, Pennsylvania, is objected to. And literally, as I'm writing, talking about preserving our democracy, I'm hearing all these sort of explosions right outside my window and all this commotion and sirens. We have gotten an alert through our computer systems from the USCP, the Capitol Police, to essentially shelter in place, make sure all the doors are locked, put everything on quiet, essentially any electronics. And so for the moment, that's what I'm doing. But certainly have a small skeleton staff given COVID, all of whom are in their 20s, by the way.
This is all directed
to figure out what we should do next.
by the ousted president, Donald J. Trump.
How long the House is going to be
mad,
in recess?
and he's throwing
Are
a
you
temper
getting any
tantrum,
updates at all? Yeah.
turning America against herself
We are getting updates
because
from the
he
US
did
Capitol
not
Police
get
periodically.
reelected for a
Literally
second
been sitting
term.
At my desktop, they're coming
And again,
through.
I would like to
But in
clearly
terms of
say,
what the floor
if
schedule
all of
is,
these
frankly,
protesters
this is such a
that
fluid
came into
and
the
fast-moving situation, Chuck,
came
I
into
doubt they
the
would know that.
Capitol building
Let me
in the midst of a
interrupt for
Senate,
second.
they would
We
all
just
been
have a
gunned
report
down.
From Pete Williams.
This
That a
is
member of the Senate is telling
this
NBC
is
News
the most
Vice
horrific
President
thing
Senator Charles Grassley,
that
the
America
Senate
has
Pro
done
Tem,
to herself.
had been taken to a secure location.
And we pray
The
to
doors of the
God
Senate
that
have
we
been
can
closed
come out
and
of
locked,
this
and senators have been told to
and
stay
move
away
forward,
from the doors.
as I believe this nation can.
Well, there you go. And they did turn off our camera completely. We had been watching them milling around each other quite a bit. But here we are. Congressman, I know that some of these protesters were trying to get into some of the House office buildings earlier today. Were you in one of those buildings that they breached?
Right next to us is the Cannon House office building, and I know that was evacuated earlier, and then that evacuation was called off. There are different rumors flying, hearing things, but there's nothing I don't think it would be a good idea to put out on airways if I don't know it.
No, of course not. No, of course not. Well, Congressman, I really appreciate you telling us what you know here as best you can. It sounds like we're all a bit in an information vacuum. So
yeah, I mean, for right now, the advice that certainly I'm following is just from the Capitol Police. I wish we could get more information from them, but as far as I know, the best is to just keep the doors locked, shelter in place, and that's what we're doing here until or unless the situation changes.
Congressman, quickly, were you prepared for this?
Last night, my staff and I knew that there was, very likely going to be a lot of protests given everything that President Trump has called for. We were advised to just use the tunnels. We planned on it being a late night just because of how many states were being objected to. But did I think that within about 15 or 20 minutes of this thing starting, that, the U.S. Capitol would be breached and the entire Capitol complex? No, this is much worse than I was anticipating.
I want to quickly bring in Claire McCaskill, because I think, Claire, we had asked you a question, and we quickly had like 17 other updates of breaking news of what we're watching here and witnessing. And I want to go back to this chilling fact. We are in this situation because the President of the United States forced it.
Yes, he caused this. This is the result of his lying and the failure of responsible elected officials to stand up to him and his lies. I am getting texts from senators. Many of them, as usual, were in their offices watching what was going on the floor. They have been told to shelter in place. The people on the floor are not being allowed to leave. I have heard from them. The doors are locked. What is really concerning is that none of these people went through the metal detectors. There are ways public can get into the building, but there are parts of the Capitol they cannot go in, particularly when Congress is in session. The idea that people are bunched up on that balcony, that is someplace that you're not allowed to go in or out of that door. If you're a senator, you can walk out of that door because it's right by the elevators, and you can walk out. And I remember late nights when I was tired of being inside, taking that door and going down the stairs. But around that door are police. So
Claire, I don't mean to interrupt you, just so you know.
Yeah.
It's been official. The Senate is being evacuated.
And let me just say also that the people that you can see on the left side of your screen right now, those are people on the inaugural platform. That is the platform on the west front of the Capitol.
That's the west side.
That is the west side. So you're seeing the east side on one side of your screen.
By the way, the outside protesting, that's the normal everyday feature of the U.S. Capitol, correct, Claire McCaskill? Being outside, we've seen it for Supreme Court nomination fights and then some.
Yes, on the east side that faces the Supreme Court, it was not unusual for us to come out after a controversial vote and have that area full of protesters on one side or the other of issues that we were debating and voting on that were controversial. What is unusual here is that the Capitol Police have lost control of the premises. We have people walking up and down Statuary Hall that could be armed, that easily could have guns on them because they have not been required to go through any of the protocols that you must go through to enter the Capitol. This is a very dangerous situation brought to you, delivered to our doorstep. This is being seen around the world. We are no longer the shining democracy on the hill. This looks like a third world banana republic, courtesy of Donald Trump and Josh Hawley.
Let me just add, guys, Donald Trump has just tweeted, someone's clearly gotten to him and said this is too much. Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They're truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Finally, it's a little bit too late. We're just getting a report from Congressman Jim Himes that tear gas has been used inside the Capitol. Tear gas inside the U.S. Capitol. This is just an astonishing moment.
It's certainly lame for him to be tweeting that now.
Let's go.
Yes. America, the beacon light of hope, the shining city on the hill. Now we are seeing the corrosive, the rot of this nation, this white supremacy, or shall we say so-called white supremacy rot, led by a ousted president, Donald J. Trump, who is now trying to clean up his mess by calling for something different. We're here. The world see us for who we really are. 75 million white racist, not just evangelists, Christian evangelists, but white racist people. America is truly in her full divide. And this full divide is being shown all over the world, simply because she did not want to receive the votes of black people in 5 states. And this is where we are. And Donald J. Trump is trying to change the election as a result of it. And this is what happened when you do not allow democracy to work fully as it needs to work.
This was going to be a problem. Yasmin, we knew this was going to be a problem, that the protesters were going to try to hijack any reporter trying to do their job, trying to report on the protests. And by the way, a little message to protesters: if you really care about your message, you'd actually want to let reporters talk and report what you have to say.
Let me just read an email.
Trying to hijack.
Here's an email from our producer, Haley Talbot, inside the House chamber. We are told to sit and stay calm and wait for Capitol Police to come. Be prepared to get under chairs if necessary. Verify every door is locked, someone yelled. Be prepared to relocate to cloakroom. That's right outside the House chamber. Rules Committee Chair McGovern is telling members there is tear gas in the rotunda and grabbing masks under seats, and be prepared to put it on. So the members have masks available to them. Everyone is freaking out. Members are all holding the gas masks. This is inside the House chamber from Haley Talbot, our very experienced House
And not everybody
producer.
in there has gas masks, guys. I mean, the lawmakers do, but think about everybody else who is inside this building right now that's working, that doesn't have access to this. I mean, go ahead.
Haley says, Katie, that there are perhaps 100 people still inside the chamber. I presume that Pelosi is not one of them.
Well,
let me bring in Alyssa Slotkin, Congresswoman and Democrat from Michigan. She joins us on the phone now. Congresswoman, just if you could just tell us what you know. A lot of us, we're watching this, but there's a lot of information we don't know. What do you know?
Yeah, well, all the members of Congress are just texting each other and trying to make sure everyone is safe. I understand.
As I said before, so say I again. If these protesters was black taking over the Capitol, believe me, and you and I both know it, they would all been gunned down long time ago.
I'm glad to see that the president is now putting out a message that this has gone way too far. But as you can imagine, my text chain is just insane, and we're all just trying to have accountability on each other, make sure we know where everyone is. It's kind of the buddy system at this point.
Congresswoman, you had experience in the Pentagon and the CIA, long experience in foreign policy before you were elected. You were a freshman and just went through another election.
Yeah.
Let's take that experience and tell me what you're seeing. And from my personal knowledge, this is the first time there's been anything close to an evacuation from the Capitol of members since 9/11, when they were told to leave the building because there was fear that there was an airplane approaching it.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I think the fundamental difference, of course, when you're at the Pentagon, we always know that there are people who are looking to attack the Pentagon. When you're at the CIA, certainly when I served in Iraq, the headquarters and locations where we were always trying to be breached. I think the fundamental difference is that this was instigated and perpetuated by the leaders, right? This wasn't like a couple of crazy people or even a crazy group that were trying to break in. We all heard the president today. We all heard the people speaking at the rally. It was incitement. And we shouldn't be shocked, whether it's just after one rally or after these past 4 years. The leadership climate is set from the top, and we knew that we had a combustible mix here today. I saw the Capitol Police doing some heroic things, but the fact that they were having to do that because the president and his supporters were egging on these crowds is the thing I think that just gets most of us in a different way than those kind of threats we all faced when we were serving abroad.
And is there any way, I'm really, I cannot understand how they got past the magnetometers, through all the entrances. There's so many entrances to the building, but
Andrew, there's video out there of them smashing the doors, smashing the glass in the doors That's what's being circulated right now. Congresswoman, have you seen any of that?
I haven't seen it myself. We've been hearing it, and we keep hearing some booms, which I assume are flashbangs or something that is used for crowd control to keep people back. And we're all texting each other. Does anyone know?